the way people file information, I think, very much through storytelling helps the recall. My second book is about drug dealers and legal lessons or policy lessons that we can learn from how they operate their business. But it's a way to explain it in a way that's a little bit more sexy and interesting than just telling people what to do. Trying to make people who aren't ordinarily interested in compliance engage with the topic.
Thank you so much for joining me here, Sarah, for our next episode of Be The Drop.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to be here on location at You Legal.
Yes.
Now, I know you've brought in an item of significance, and that's something that connects you with your community.
Yes.
So if you could explain what it is and just tell us a little bit about yourself and your community.
Sure. Should I get it?
Yes.
Okay, great.
That would be great. Thank you.
So in 2015, I won a Telstra Business Women's Award, and my business was maybe 18 months old, so it was quite a significant achievement at the time. In fact, I don't think I realised at the time what a significant achievement it was. It was just kind of doing what we were doing every day and got nominated for the award and won it. But I feel like it was so significant because it was business people recognising the change that we were making in the way that legal services are delivered in Australia before anyone else really noticed. It was a year later that I won a Thought Leader Award through Lawyers Weekly. So it was just cool and significant that the business community recognised us before our own community did.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about the change in delivering legal services.
So we work with a team of 15 lawyers, and they all work from their own offices or their own homes. So they're essentially freelance lawyers. We don't have the overheads of traditional law firms, so we have the ability to be a lot more flexible on pricing, but we provide lawyers with that top tier experience that you get when you go to a big law firm. So yeah, it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And so then if someone needs to see their lawyer, what happens then? They come into a central location?
Yeah, so I've got lawyers in every state in Australia. So just depending on the area of expertise that they need. Obviously, people do like to see lawyers in person. You talk about things that are significant in your life, whether it be the sale or purchase of a business or something that means a lot to you, and building that personal rapport is important. So yeah, we're not an online law firm, we're a dispersed law firm.
Yeah. So throughout your business journey, how has creativity played a role?
I remember when I very first started the business, I heard Elizabeth Gilbert speak in Melbourne with a friend of mine, Rachel, and she was talking about how basically writing Eat, Pray, Love gave her this freedom to be able to do whatever she wanted. And she talked about it in terms of it was her permission slip to live a creative life. And so I felt at that time that being made redundant had given me that freedom. So I could live according to my own values and not need to answer to anyone. So I have found being in business is a hugely creative experience. I've talked about writing my books that are slightly off centre from ordinary legal books. And so my friend Emma Grace, who's an artist in Melbourne, made me a permission slip. So it's great. Elizabeth Gilbert's permission slip, but whenever I'm feeling uncertain or if I'm not doing the right thing, then I can look and see I've got a permission slip to do whatever I like, and I can choose the way that I live my life. So.
Yeah. So then tell me a little bit about that, why you decided to start this business model.
So I was made redundant when I was 7 months pregnant with my second child, Nicola. So it was just a really tough time in terms of what do I do now? Do I wait until she's 6 months old and find another job. But I got an opportunity to work as a consulting lawyer to one foundation client, and I loved it. I worked from home for the remainder of my pregnancy and worked 2 days out of 5, and worked the days and times that suited me and was available for my clients. And I just thought, I love this and I want to be able to give it to other people. The clients don't have to wait for a call back because I'm available. And yeah, it was great for lawyers and it was great for clients. And I was like, how can I make something out of this?
Yeah. So it was a real light bulb moment.
It was, absolutely.
And then what were the next steps for you?
So I had Nicola and I took about 6 weeks off and went back to work and found that very quickly lots of people were saying, can you help us like that? Can you help us like that? And I was like, I have a 6-month-old baby and I work when she's asleep.
Yeah.
Like, give me a break. 6 weeks, not 6 months.
And so how did you go about that then? You know, you've got legal experience. What was the learning curve like in building the business experience?
Pretty steep, especially when I thought I had to do everything myself. I remember the first time I found someone who could help me with something was just, I felt this power, like I don't have to do everything myself like I thought I did.
And so that motivation for you to do that, you know, you've got a young baby, it could have been easy to spend that time focusing and just go, oh, well, this is a pretty good reason to not. What was it that really motivated you?
I think I've seen so many of my colleagues from law school go through like mental health issues with practicing the law, like the pressure, the time, the significant kind of, if you make a mistake, the kind of threat to your practice. And I thought that this new way of practicing could help relieve some of that. And I feel like a lot of it is created by the traditional model. And I remember thinking I could just go fit into an existing law firm, bring the work that is coming to me, get it done. But I remember walking into the kitchen one day and thinking, no, like a change needs to be made. And if not now, then when? And if not me, then who? Who's going to care enough about this? So yeah, that's why I haven't given up in the moments that I thought it would just be so much easier to get someone else to do the HR or whatever is my bugbear on the day.
Yeah. Oh, that is good. Good on you. Because it certainly would not have been easy.
No.
So then how did you go about that process of building up your client base for the business?
So clients seemed like initially we didn't really do any marketing. It was just word of mouth. And then we started doing some email marketing, trying to build value for clients for free as a kind of first step to getting to know us. And I started doing legal TV episodes and just trying to give people something to get to know us.
Yeah. So you mentioned there as well that you went through a process of offering a free service to engage people and get to know. How did that work and what was the response to that?
So we've recently done one that's still available where we do a free privacy policy for clients. So we've got an online form that they fill out, and if they're over 3 million turnover or a health provider or certain qualifications that mean that you need a privacy policy, we'll prepare that for free. And we found that just builds trust. It gets people to see how we work if they aren't certain.
In that growth phase and through that journey, you know, what sort of recommendations would you give to other people who are going on a business growth?
I think don't do it on your own. Definitely find a like-minded group of people that you can learn from. Don't make the mistakes yourself if you can learn from the master, I think they say, rather than continually spending the money learning by making mistakes. And I heard someone say business is the most expensive education you will ever get. So just trying to make it a little bit cheaper by learning from others is definitely recommended.
And in that process, how valuable do you think the sharing of stories is?
100% probably the most valuable, definitely. And I think for entrepreneurs, they learn through sharing experiences. They don't learn by being told what to do.
No, because there isn't necessarily always one right fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And in your own business, you know, messaging and marketing, you mentioned your blog and your legal TV. Do you incorporate stories and experiences and the sharing of those in your messaging?
Yeah, so I've written 2 books. And my first book was called How to Avoid a Fall from Grace. It's a governance book about directors' duties, and that is sharing stories from experiences that clients have had or hearsay stories that people have experienced and why not to do certain things as a director, just so that I thought someone might be reading this on a plane and hear about this guy who didn't do due diligence on a fellow director and ended up being ripped off by him. Oh, that's happening in our business. We should just Google this person.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of the way people file information, I think very much through storytelling helps the recall. My second book is about drug dealers and legal lessons or policy lessons that we can learn from how they operate their business. Because when it comes down to it,
I wondered where you were going there.
They're experienced entrepreneurs and they grow businesses in an environment of extreme hostility. And risk is really a very big focus for them, which is what we want it to be for our clients as well. But it's a way to explain it in a way that's a little bit more sexy and interesting than just telling people what to do.
Yeah.
So the stories from those 7 drug dealers lodge in my brain as what not to do and what to do in certain situations as well. So obviously for you, story is very important in your communication. Now, what was that book called? It's called Kingpin Legal Lessons from the Underworld.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, you've really taken story to heart there, because, I mean, I think people wouldn't go, okay, so I need to learn about risk management. I should probably look to the drug lords and see what they're doing in the underworld. But that's a path you went down?
Yeah. I'm trying to make people who aren't ordinarily interested in compliance engage with the topic.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it, what you've really hit on there, is stories have that ability to bridge something that we're not comfortable with, don't necessarily understand, like risk and compliance. You know, that can be quite overwhelming. But taking it and applying it to something that we can relate to, you know, not saying that we're all drug dealers, but, you know, that understanding of what might happen in their world seems a little bit easier.
Yeah, because it's so much sharper, because the risks are so much greater.
So for you, is that mix of, you know, you've got a business and you've got your core business, and that's around driving, you know, making profits to continue the business and grow. But you've also got a passion around education and information and providing that. Do you think it's really important for business to have those mix?
I think it's really important for business owners to do what they're passionate about. So for me, it is that education and my community, and but that might not be how everyone wants to operate. So
why did you decide to go down the track of starting You Legal TV?
I knew that video was going to be really big on the internet, and what I could find that other law firms were doing from a marketing perspective were nowhere near as personal as doing videos myself. So some of them do one a year, or they try and do videos, but they hadn't seemed to have prioritised them. And so I thought it was important. And I thought it was a way for people who didn't know me to get to know me without me having to have 100 coffees a week. And it's funny because I was in a coffee shop yesterday and our premier, Jay Weatherall, walked in and I went, "Hi, Jay." And he was like, "Hi." He doesn't know me, but because I see him on TV and on those videos and on the paper all the time, I felt like I knew him. And so I was like, that's what I'm trying to create with You Legal TV. Like people that just go, "Hi, Sarah." And I'm like, "I don't know you."
But hi.
Let's talk about that.
And I think like that's such a clever strategy, going, well, there's not a lot of that video content from legal firms. I'm going to put myself in that position. And was it something you found challenging, you know?
Horribly. I remember taking a photograph of myself the first time I was doing it. So I was using an iPad. and lights, and I was just walking around the house trying to find the best place to do it. And I just walked around the house for a whole day on a Saturday. I don't know, I still find it very emotionally challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emotionally challenging?
Yeah, just really hard to put myself out there.
Yeah. Oh, well, you're doing very well.
Thank you. I don't know if it's a lawyer's as well. Like, you know, we want to be right and we don't want to be vulnerable. And you have to be vulnerable in front of the camera to be able to make a difference.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Sarah. But in conclusion, can you please share with me your Be the Drop tip? Now, a Be the Drop tip is your top communication tip.
So I think the most important thing is listening and making sure that you engage with your community, not just to tell them what to do, but to ask them what they need and ask them what their problems are and see if you're someone who can help solve them.
That's brilliant. It's really important. It reminds me of a saying that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much.
That's good.
So thank you so much for joining me.
No worries, you're welcome.
Yay!